everyone, my name is Nikki and I am a graduate intern with Northampton Community College and the Leadership Society, and today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about time management. So before we get started, I really want you to spend some time thinking about what is time management? What do you know about it so far? What messages have you received about time management? What do you think is needed to be effective at time management? And I really want you to keep those ideas in the back of your head as we progress throughout our video today. And I even think it might be a great idea to pause the video for a little bit, write down some notes, just to keep those at the front of your mind before we jump right into what we mean about time management here at the Leadership Society. So when we're talking about time management, we can see that it has a lot of different components and definitions. So at the very basic level, it's the process of planning how you're going to spend your time. So as you're going through life, planning what you need to do in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, at night, in general, that is time management. But we know we can improve on that, and we can be a lot better at that, and that's when this conscientiousness comes in. So it's a conscious intention of setting goals to understand how we can use our time most effectively, efficient, and productively. So we want to make sure that we're using all the time that's been given to us. We want to make sure that we're being productive. We're doing what needs to get done in order for us to be successful. We also want to be efficient. So not spending time rushing through things or spending too much time working on a project. Finding that sweet spot where we can give our best effort and also continue to follow through with all the other responsibilities that we have. And then finally, here at the Leadership Society, we believe it's a vital skill that you need so you can be the best you that you can be. For you to juggle school, your personal life, your hobbies, your career, if you have a family or plan to have a family in the future, if you like hanging out with your pets. In order for you to be able to do all the things you need to do and want to do, it's really important that you grow in this time management skill. So when it comes to time management, the thing we need to most understand before we can even get into general tips and tricks and methods of managing our time is what we want to spend our time doing. And for us, that's our values. So throughout your life, your values are going to change as you have different priorities and experiences. For example, I have some of my top 5 values right here at the bottom that are for just me as a graduate student. And right now, that's completing my graduate degree, finding a career, spending time with people I love, taking care of myself, and giving back to the community is also really important to me. So as you can see, those top 2 values I have are completing my degree and finding a career. So I know as I plan out my day, I need to be intentional about doing my schoolwork, applying for jobs, and making sure that I'm doing what I need to do in order to advance my goals forward. What's also really awesome about this is sometimes time management can get tough. School can get tough. Life can get tough. But through this, we're able to look back at our values and remind ourselves of why we are working so hard. And our values should really inform the way we spend our time and motivate us to continue to complete those goals that we have. So now as we move on, we're going to move right into some tips for general time management. We have 5 of them. So the first is determining when you're most productive or will have the least distractions. So in an ideal world, if you were a night owl, you'd be able to set aside some time at night. If you worked better in the morning, you'd be able to set aside some time early in the morning to get your work done. But we also realize that, life is stressful, hectic, got a lot of other responsibilities going on. So if you have soccer practice in the evening or you have to take your kids to school in the morning, you might not be able to be working at the time where you feel most productive, but it's important to find and carve out some time during the day for you to get done what you need to get done. Next, we really need you to create an organizational system so you know what needs to get done and when you need to get it done by. And that can be anything that works for you. So some people really like online calendars like Google Calendar, which is a great free service. Some people like physical planners or bullet journals. Some people just like to have a notepad where they write down to-do lists. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be pretty. As long as it works for you, that is a vital tool you're going to need. The third thing is tackling the most urgent and important things first. So I have definitely been there where I'm like, wow, I could write a paper that's 5 pages long, or I could send 3 emails. And, that's both being productive. But depending on my structure of my day, if my paper is due the next day, writing those emails is not going to help me advance my goals forward, and it's going to stress me out when I eventually have to come back to that paper. So making sure we're doing the things that are most important first. 4 is my favorite tip of all time, and it's remembering that perfect is the enemy of done. I don't know about anyone else, but I can be a little bit of a perfectionist, where I'm reluctant to turn in a project or finishing working on a task until it's absolutely perfect, looks 100% the way I want it to look. But I'm also going to be honest, that's not always a realistic expectation. That can stress me out. It can get in the way of me completing other things that I need to get done. And sometimes it can be really detrimental to me. So it's always important that we try to put our best effort forward, but it's also important to remember that it's okay sometimes to be coming to a point where you're like, I've done the best that I can do. It's time to let me put this down and move on to something else. And then finally, rewarding yourself and taking breaks. You are working so hard to advance your goals, and you deserve to appreciate yourself for that. And I think oftentimes we think about rewards as something monetary or physical. So taking ourselves out for new clothes, or buying our favorite drink at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, or taking ourselves out for dinner. And that's awesome if we're in a great place financially and are able to afford that. Love that. Often do it for myself, but rewards can also come like going to sleep early, or taking an evening to relax, or hanging out with our friends or loved ones. So it's important that we find ways to bring in a variety of rewards, and also knowing that rewarding ourselves is whatever looks best for us in the moment, even if other people wouldn't necessarily think that's something that they would want. So when it comes to effectively managing your time, there are 2 skills that are really important. So now that we're guided by our values, we know what's important to us. It's important that we say yes to things that inspire us, motivate us, are aligned with our goals, and advance them. And then on the flip side, we also have to learn how to say no. So sometimes there are things that are overwhelming, may not be in line with what we value, or sometimes there might be an opportunity that is just simply suited for someone else. People have different skills and talents they're able to bring to the table. So sometimes it might be best for the team or the group as a whole for us to delegate a task to someone we know might be able to do it better. And there's definitely no shame in recognizing that as a great mark of a leader and someone who is confident and self-assured. And then I have some tips here for saying no if that's something that you struggle with, like I do and like many people do. So the first is just being honest with yourself and your limits. Nobody can do it all. It's just a fact of life. So we have to be able to say no to some things so we can say yes to the things that really matter. So doing that requires a basic level of honesty with ourselves and with other people. When it comes to communicating with other people about our boundaries, being straightforward is so important. It's important that we don't waver on anything, or we aren't clear with what our expectations are and what we're able to commit. Being straightforward allows people to make other plans. It allows them to create more helpful plans going forward, and it also allows them to make decisions about their own time management and values. So being as straightforward as possible in a kind and polite way is really the best way to move forward. It's also awesome to offer alternative ways to help out. So we might not be able to take a lead on a project at work, but we might be able to be part of the team and help out. Or we might not be able to make dinner for our family that night, but maybe it would be helpful if we picked up some pizza and were able to feed them that way. So even if you can't do exactly what's being asked of you, it's always a great idea to offer some alternatives that you are willing to do. And then finally, practice. I know this can be difficult. It's a hard skill to learn. But the more you practice, and of course not saying no just for the sake of saying no, but really acting in a way that's in line with your values, the more you practice, the easier it'll become. So I have some great tools here that are different methods of time management that'll help us be able to get things done effectively. So the first one, which is my favorite, is called the Pomodoro method. And in general, it starts out, you write down your to-do list for the day, you set a timer for 25 minutes, and you start working on those tasks. At the end of 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. At the end of that 5-minute break, you get back to work. And that 25-minute work period and 5-minute off period is called a Pomodoro. And after 4 or 5 of those Pomodoro methods, you can take a longer break, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and depending on what you need to be successful that day. Another method is the Eisenhower method, which was developed by President Eisenhower, and it comes with a great little infographic you can see here on the side, and it involves creating a little chart with 4 different quadrants, and we organize things as immediate and not immediate, and critical and not critical. So we start working from the very top, so working on things that are critical, and then we move on to things that are not critical. So some critical things that might be immediate may include studying for a test you have tomorrow. But something that's critical and not immediate would be studying for an exam you have in 2 weeks. And then something that's not critical but immediate might be making a doctor's appointment, or texting your friend back, or picking up something from the grocery store. In that way, this is a great tool for someone who might struggle a little bit with determining what is most important and what really needs to get done over the course of a day. We have 2 more. So both of these were actually developed by the same man, Alan Lincoln, in a book he wrote in the 1970s. The first one is the Swiss cheese method, which has a funny name but is super helpful. And that is, if you pick a big task, you might have a 20-page paper or a really big exam you have to study for. That includes breaking it down into smaller chunks, setting a timer for 15 minutes, and just getting started somewhere with whatever you need to do. And then after that 15 minutes, you can take a 5-minute break, and then set another timer and work again for 15 minutes. Similar to the Pomodoro method in a way. And the goal is eventually you'll just have so much done out of this project, you'll take so many little holes, just like Swiss cheese, that eventually you'll be like, you know what, I just want to finish the whole thing, and I'm glad it's over. And then the other one is the ABC method, very similar to the Eisenhower method, but instead of creating a graph, you create a to-do list that's organized by A tasks, B tasks, and C tasks. So A tasks are the most relevant, the most critical, the most urgent. They need to get done today. B tasks need to get done sometime this week. And C tasks are tasks that need to get done sometime this month or sometime in the future. And then as time progresses, as you start whittling stuff down, or as you get a new day, you just start creating new lists in this ABC pattern. So one of the other parts of time management is tackling procrastination. And we know at the Leadership Society that is not going to be us. We're going to push past our desire to procrastinate with some of these awesome tips. So the first one is the 5-minute miracle, one of my favorites. It involves taking a 5-minute timer on your computer, on your phone, even just looking casually at the clock and getting started on something, whether that is cleaning your house or writing a paragraph or whatever it is you need to get done. Studies show that if you just get started, you're a lot more likely to stick with it and to finish the task, or at least get big chunks of it done than you were if you would have never started. Another important part is reducing your to-do list. What can be delayed to tomorrow? What can be reduced or removed completely? That way you're not feeling overwhelmed. Having an accountability buddy is great. Someone who's going to keep you on track, who's going to follow through and be like, hey, you said you were going to do this today, and you didn't. And making sure that they're someone who is going to help you out as you reach your goals. And then the last 2 are really 2 self-reflection practices. So an important part is digging deep and understand why you might be procrastinating. Is it because you're feeling overwhelmed? Is it because you're not passionate about this class? Is it because you're so worried you'll fail, you don't want to get started? And those are things you can talk out with others and with professionals. And then finally, practicing self-compassion. Understanding that everybody has, these things that they work with and that are challenging, and that it's okay to struggle. But these are just a few tips on how to better manage your time, along with some practical tips to put into action. So we look forward to hearing about how you guys have used it and seeing you in our next module.